So once we know what our process is, we need some strategies for how to figure out how to make it better. So one strategy is to take the flowcharts of the process as it is, and then draw flowcharts of what the process could be and compare them. The challenge in this is, how do you figure out what is the set of flowcharts for what the process could be? It seems to me that that's kind of random. It's not necessarily true that all of those other alternatives will offer any sort of improvement because they aren't really targeting particular problems. Another possibility is to look at each activity in the process and make sure that you know exactly its purpose, where it gets done, where it exists in the existing process, the people who do it, and the methods that they use to do it. And look at that with the goal of eliminating activities or combining activities or trying to reduce overhead or simplify those activities. So this figure goes into that in more detail. It gives you some good ideas about the questions that you could ask about each activity and gives you ideas of what it is that you're trying to do. Perhaps eliminate things, combine things, rearrange the order of things to reduce the overhead, simplify the things that you're trying to do. So this is really just more detail about what could you think about for each activity in the process. So the next part of the book talks about business process redesign. And usually what that word means, or that phrase means, is that we're going to throw away the process and we're going to start wholly from new. But this process that they talked about here really isn't that. This process is a really good description of the way that you want to think about improving your processes. So we started out, we documented and mapped the process, and we identified the customers and the requirements. So we're really just making sure that we know what the process is. Then they have analyzed the process, and that is rank the problems and opportunities. That's where the beginning of our data comes in. We've gathered data about the process, and we can look at that data and see what are the problems in how the process is going and what are the opportunities. Now, it's really important to notice that we aren't randomly thinking of other possible processes. We are using the data about the existing process, not only to find the opportunities, but also to rank them. Because remember, you're doing this in the context of a business. And so we want to put our improvement activities on the places that are most likely to give us big bang for the buck. So we want a big return on our investment in improving the process. So we want to find places where a little bit of effort makes a big difference in how the process behaves. Once we see where the big problems are, then we need to look for the root causes of those problems and put in place control systems that help us prevent those root causes from happening. Those are the things that are going to give us a plan for how we're going to change the process. And then it isn't just that we change the process. Then we pilot that change, because there's a chance that whatever change we're going to make, even though we think it's going to be good, it's really going to be bad. So we want to pilot the change and in a way that we can measure its effect. And before we pilot, we want to set up the rules for how we're going to measure its success. Gather the data, check to make sure that the change that we tried is a positive change. And if it is, then we institutionalize that change. And one other comment about making a change. Yes, we can plan very carefully and think that we understand what's going to happen when we make a change. But there's a chance that when we make an improvement to one part of the process, even though it's an improvement there, it causes a degradation at some other place in the process, because the steps in the process are interrelated. So when we're analyzing a change to decide, was it a positive change or a negative change, we need to not be looking just at that specific portion of the process, but we need to be looking at the impacts that that change has on the other parts of the process as well.